Okay, so we're going to talk about the discriminant. The discriminant is a formula that helps us determine how many solutions a quadratic have. And that formula is b squared minus 4ac is equal to d being the discriminant. And I wanted to make a side note here. This formula is part of the quadratic formula. Now, we haven't gone over the quadratic formula yet, and we will. So the discriminant becomes much more important and powerful when we start utilizing the quadratic formula because, well, we'll talk about it at that point. But I'm just going to write what the quadratic formula is. Quadratic formula is going to be x is equal to plus or minus b, not plus or minus b, negative b, plus or minus the square root of basically b squared minus 4ac. That is our discriminant over 2 times a. Now, little side note here, if you look at this negative b over 2a, your axis of symmetry formula is x is equal to negative b over 2a. Oh, look at that. We're kind of tying some things in together there. Kind of looks pretty cool, huh? Now, here's some of the rules that you need to think about. If the discriminant is greater than 0, you know you have 2 solutions. If d is less than 0, you have no solution. So that means you know you're not going to have to do any problems. If d is equal to 0, then you're going to have 1 solution. All right, now d is equal to 0, that's when basically it's going to be your vertex is your solution. Now, technically, you do still have 2 solutions, but they're duplications of each other. And when you have the duplication of each other, when you have the same solution, then you're not going to repeat that. You're just going to write it down one time, and you're just going to say that you have 1 solution. All right? That's pretty much it. Oh, well, let's do one problem. Sorry, let me do one problem here before we get started into the next lesson. So, if I have a quadratic, and let's say our quadratic, let's say the problem is, I'm going to say f of x, and that's going to be equal to x squared plus 5x plus 4, okay? And I'm going to look at my formula. My a here is equal to 1, my b is equal to 5, and my c is equal to 4, okay? Your b will always be next to the x, your a will always be next to the x squared, and your c will always be your constant. So utilizing my formula for d, my discriminant, d is going to be equal to 5 squared, and that's going to be minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 4. Now, one of the things you really need to watch out for, because this section right in here, with that negative 4, if your c or your a is a negative value, remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So that's where you're going to run into potential trip yourself up and make a mistake on just basic mathematics. Okay, so be very careful when you're doing this. So 5 squared is going to give you 25. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and that's minus. So that's going to give me minus 16. So 25 minus 16 is going to give me 9. Now, let's talk about it. My discriminant is 9. 9 is greater than 0. So that means how many solutions do I have? That means I will have 2 solutions. It's that easy. That's all you're doing. So this is a really powerful tool because later on when you get deeper into mathematics, you will be able to determine, well, do I have to do any math problems? Do I need to do one type of factoring versus another type of factoring in order to find my solutions? And that's where the discriminant comes into play to helping you to determine that information. All right, I'll see you in the next video where we will talk about finding the zeros of the graph by factoring.